Hey everyone, welcome to the Blue Room Podcast, an intimate space where we explore ourselves, our lives, and our relationships more deeply through therapeutic conversation. I'm your host, Fantana Shatamsa, and I'm so grateful to be on this journey with you, as always, as always. And today I'm in a different space, which is not unusual. I'm always somewhere different. Today we're doing a lunchtime recording in the middle of my workday, so just kind of fit it in where you can, but I really couldn't miss this opportunity to chat with Tonya because I was not about to reschedule. So I've been looking forward to this one so much. So welcome to the show, Tonya.
Thank you for having me.
I'm so excited to have you. And you are an artist and you are a lot of different things. You're multifaceted, but for folks who don't know who you are, do you mind giving a short introduction about who you are and what you do?
Sure. My name is Tonya Paris, or as a lot of people know me, SamGwan The Artist. Um, I'm 52, and I decided to go into my art career probably around 40, 41, which was completely opposite of everything I've ever done or known. And it took on a life of its own, and here we are 11 years later. You know, I have art in the universities, the hospitals,
Mm-hmm.
downtown Halifax, Acoma. Um, I'm just trying to think of there's a lot that I forget because I just do what I feel at the moment.
Mm-hmm.
And so my business partner gets mad at me because he says there's too many things missing on my resume that I don't tell him about. But I'm
Well,
just,
you did Ali, not Ava in Wonderland.
yeah, Ava in Wonderland. We're working on Lucy's story right now, which is a series based on the residential schools here in Canada. My grandmother's a residential school survivor. So we want to talk about generational trauma and
Mm-hmm.
how that gets passed along genetically and how the next generation deals with that. That's okay.
Sorry, I just had a call come in, so I'm gonna put my phone on Do Not Disturb so that doesn't happen again. But I did catch that. I got Lucy's story about the residential school, and
Well,
and
she's a residential school survivor, and
okay.
there's a lot of trauma that comes with that, right? Generational trauma, and biologically, our grandmothers carry us in their womb for half of the pregnancy, right?
Mm-hmm.
Um, Genetically, your eggs of your child develop while they're in the womb, so you literally carry your grandchildren.
Yes,
So in our culture, we believe that genetic trauma can be passed down from generation to generation without even saying a word. So,
absolutely.
growing up with my grandmother being a survivor of residential school, and then my mother also being a survivor of the Charles Girls Home, I just wanted to make sure that the curse stopped with me
Mm,
and that the generational trauma didn't continue into my children and grandchildren. So
yeah,
that's what made me go into the art world.
and I love that you started at 40, and just the success that you've seen, like in that like decade. Just and I want to get into it, like how you have made a living off of art and how you've kind of transitioned from other work into art, and then just the impact of the pieces that you do, and even like your name and how that you got your name Samguan.
Hmm.
Um, and I want to get into all that and you're also a Taurus, which I love
Yes.
because you're my we relate on some deep levels with that one.
Yep.
Yeah.
Stubborn and stubborn.
Oh my gosh, and stubborn, yeah, but just the love,
But determined too. I joke around with the stubbornness, but Tauruses are very determined. If
Yeah,
we set a goal, we will do everything, jump over hoops, go around hoops, go through hoops, to get what it is that we set our goal for.
yeah,
So I will say that I've learned to not be as stubborn and learn to be more determined
right.
and have a specific goal.
Yeah,
And
you channel that
yeah,
energy.
yeah, because I can't speak for every tourist, but the tourists I've met,
Mhm.
we seem to be very spiritual and in tune to the energy around us. So we have to move accordingly, and
Yeah,
each one of us has a way to kind of do that works for them.
yeah. Mhm. Amen to that. And because of all these pieces, like we, I feel like we have a good eye for quality, and we know what we
Hmm.
deserve. And I just love, I just love your collections of like shoes and purses, and how you've designed your own
And
purses.
we
I've seen
always
purses.
have expensive tastes. It's like if there's five things on the table and they say pick which one you like, you always pick up the most expensive. I don't understand that.
It's just the value of things. Like we don't mind investing in something that we see value in. Like
Right.
it does if we don't see value in it, then I don't care if someone says I need it, but if I don't see the value, I'm not gonna put into it. But if I see that something is valuable and people don't think that it's valuable, but I feel like it's valuable, I'm gonna put into it. So
Yeah.
yeah, it's a value piece for sure. Um, but yeah, before we kind of get into the conversation any deeper, usually what I do is I ask folks to answer a question. Usually I have my deck of cards, but I don't have my physical cards, but I have a list of questions here. I love that you're just rolling with me.
Sure.
Um, and I'm going to get you to pick a number between 1 and 9, and whatever number you pick is going to be the question that I'm going to ask you, and I'm also going to answer after.
3.
That suits you so well, and I feel like I knew that you were going to pick this. Okay, what is the most meaningful thing you've created or contributed to?
My children.
Oh, yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
and by proxy, my grandchildren.
Hmm.
Right.
Hmm.
So for me, um, living in community, because we as Black people and Indigenous people, we have a strong sense of community, and that village. And I can create the most beautiful art in the world, some of the most expensive art in the world. But if I don't produce good, productive citizens of my children, all that is null and void.
Yeah.
So I would say that my children, so I directly reflect in their children and so forth for the next 7 generations. That's probably,
Mm.
yeah, I would say that. I would say my children.
Oh, I love that. I love that. Um, how would I answer that question? Obviously, I do have children. I have my 3 kids, and they're what I live for. They're everything to me. Um, and I find, yeah, parenting. I think you must go through stages of parenting because
Hmm.
in your in your 20s, you're kind of like, yeah, anything is possible, and you're kind of still like in a dream. Like you're like, oh, I'm dreaming. And I think, the world, you can just have the world. And in the 30s, like when
Yep.
you're in your 30s parenting, you're like, this is like
Work.
crazy territory. This
Ew,
is
work.
work.
Yep.
And this is where the hard work comes in. I can't just dream about it. Like I actually have to be grinding it out and be, doing the work.
Mhm.
And I find myself just, that's what I'm trying to do, is I'm trying to do the work so I can create that kind of life that when my kids get older, they can be more
Sorry.
relaxed. Is that your doggy? What kind of dog do you
Yeah,
have?
he's a little Shih Tzu, and he
Oh my
thinks he's a
gosh.
big pit bull, and I don't understand what he's barking at because there's literally no one at the door, no one. But every now and again,
Oh
he'll
my gosh.
remind them that he's this big male dog that's protecting mom. He's like 13.
Oh my gosh, that's always the smallest ones. It's literally
Oh,
always the smallest ones.
I love him, but he's a little too protective.
Oh, so cute. Well, he's welcome to come on if he wants, if you need to bring him on.
Oh, no, I was gonna say, don't make him say that. He'll be sitting right here looking.
That's so cute. Um, but yeah, no, I would say, of course, my kids. But then outside of that is probably just starting a business, like starting the first step of the business, because it allows me to not only be creative as like an individual, but also be creative in terms of like how to generate income and then how I want to create the life that I dream of, like for me and my kids. So whether it's the nonprofit, whether it's a podcast, whether it's like wellness stuff, like I love I love being an entrepreneur and just kind of
So do I.
creating that space.
It's
Yeah.
outside of a mom and a grandmom. I would say that it's probably my favorite thing to
Yeah.
do. Just to be able to, especially where mine's based around art, to just be able to come up with creative ideas and do it. You know, I
Mhm.
just finished a course with Disney uh, for animation.
Wow.
Just because, like, the opportunity was there, so it was like, why not, right?
Yeah.
And
Wow.
to be able to do that, but be in your craft, like what you love to do more than anything,
Yeah.
it doesn't always feel like work. And I think that that's part of the reason I am successful is
Mhm.
that I never look at my business as work,
Mhm.
right?
Mhm.
It's just an extension of me.
Mhm.
And I do take my private time, my personal time, my time to meditate,
Mhm.
recalibrate myself before I go into something else, because I almost treat it like a child,
Mhm.
you
Yeah.
know, and I have burnout like anyone. Like I've seen times that I'll paint like 72 hours straight. I know it sounds crazy, but 72 hours straight and not realize that I did it till it's done. And then my body I'm exhausted.
Right.
But I had to release
Of
that
course.
energy before I
Of
could, yeah.
course. Yeah. No, that makes a lot of sense. One thing that I've noticed, like from like entrepreneurs that I admire, like yourself included, is that you guys like never stop growing, like you never stop learning, like you're still taking courses, like folks are still pursuing education, still like doing AI, learning about AI and learning about
Mhm.
just different technologies that are available. And I'm like, I feel like when I'm 50 or 60, you think like I'm at a place where I know it all. I have all the wisdom, and I feel like I can just check out and I can take a
Yeah,
break.
I thought so too. No, because just when you're getting to the point that you think you can do that, something new comes up. So
Yeah.
all the all the entrepreneurship is not new to me. Running a business is not new to me, but being technical with that business is very new to me. So you're like every time you turn around, there's something new that's coming out, some other way to
Mhm.
advertise, market, put together flyers, whatever it may be. And I'm a
Yeah.
hands-on person in my business, regardless
Mhm.
of how many people do different things. I'm still hands-on. Like Jesse runs my business life, and everything he does goes through me before it actually goes out. I have to make
Yeah.
sure that things are a certain way before it leaves SamGwan's table, so to speak. And every time you turn around, it's something new. Like that's why Jesse's my tech guy.
Yeah. We
You
love
know what I
Jesse.
mean?
That's your work husband.
I know. And this weekend we went down to a Black Indigenous powwow
Okay.
in Digby. I was a speaker there, but
Nice.
I also wanted some of the tribal members to meet Jesse because they're working on grants and different things like that. And I said, well, Jesse's a great candidate for that. Like, you know what I mean? As far as hiring him to teach them how to write grants or to
Mhm.
even write the grants, whatever it may be. I just told them, do not steal my husband, please and thank you. do not, yeah, don't do it.
Yeah.
I already
So
tease him. I already tease him and call you the other woman.
I know. I remember us sitting at the what was the Hope Bloom thing, and Jesse and I were we were like contemplating a project, and you were like, "Don't steal my husband. Don't steal my work
Yeah,
husband.
yeah. I said to
You
Jesse
go be
because he
the
said,
other woman."
yeah, he said he went to do something with you, and I said, you did not go see the other woman. And he goes, what? Like, he couldn't get it.
You
I was like,
couldn't.
not only do you cheat on me, you tell me about it. Like, really, that's really bold.
The audacity. Oh my gosh. No, that's so
No,
funny.
he's a sweetheart.
Yeah,
He has a beautiful heart, and he's now engaged.
I
So we
saw.
get two.
Congrats.
Santanish, we get two now. We have two
We get two
husbands.
husbands. Oh
You
my
know, so
gosh.
and
Yeah.
and and I tried to explain to Jesse, like, being an entrepreneur in Nova Scotia. I mean, I'm assuming that it's probably the same everywhere you go, but with differences.
Yeah.
But Nova Scotia is definitely not a what you know, it's a who you know um, province. And
Yeah.
yes, what you know is beneficial, but most doors
Well,
aren't
yeah,
open unless it's a who.
absolutely. I
So I was
agree.
trying to make sure that he meets certain people in certain communities so that the things that he wants to do thrive.
Hmm. No, for sure. Yeah. Oh, Jesse. I sent him an email too. I was like, you need to come on this show too, because I'd love to know more about like what he's doing and
Oh,
his.
definitely the Rainbow Bagel campaign. Um,
Yeah. Yep.
that was something we joked about. We literally, we sat, we did hair that night. I think we might have even watched Game of Thrones. That was our thing. And we joked around about rainbow bagels and, different things like that for Pride.
Yeah.
And he did it. And it was just like a
Blew
success
up.
ever since.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
everybody's investing, and it's non-profit. He donates all the money, other than the money that comes in to make it happen.
Hmm.
He donates it all back to LGBTQ, trans and queer folks,
Hmm.
mostly youth,
Hmm.
in the community,
Right.
and not that there's any limits, but he focuses on Black and Indigenous youth, but
Hmm.
his programs are open to all youth. So
Hmm. Yeah, he's doing the good work for sure. Um, as far as like your journey as an artist, like how did you get started? Like when did you kind of transition into art? And what did you do before?
I was a police officer.
That part always kills me. I just had to hear you say it again because I can never
um,
believe it. Just
well, I
kills
was
me.
I was coming out of high school. I went right into the military.
Right.
Right into the military. I kind of knew that I needed that discipline. I was very spoiled, and I was very princessy in the sense of I want what I want right now. And I knew that even at 15, that was not a logical thought process to get through life. Like, that just
Mhm.
was not going to make you successful.
Mhm.
So I started
That's
really
really
studying.
insightful at 15 to be like, I
Yeah,
need a little more structure and discipline.
right. And I knew, like, I love my grandmother for everything she's ever done, but she did spoil me, right? I'm her first
Yeah.
grandchild, so I was a, I could get away with a lot. And I
Right.
knew that it just, if I wanted to get through life as an adult, that just wasn't the thought process to be successful. You know
Yeah.
what I mean? And
Mhm.
I needed to learn patience, and I knew that there were certain things that I needed to work on to be more successful in my adult life. So I joined the military to discipline myself, and discipline was definitely the word that I learned in the service. Uh, Self discipline, mental discipline, physical discipline. But I also learned how to push myself to do things that I didn't think I was ready for or capable of, and just did it with a leap of faith, in a sense. You got this, you learned, stop being afraid, just do it. And then, I was always told I'm 5'2", I'm Black, Indigenous, and I was a single mother, and I was told, you can't be a police officer, you have to be 5'7", you can't do this. And as a tourist, we know No means maybe, and maybe means yes. So I was determined that if you're telling me I can't, then that's exactly what I was going to do.
You're gonna
And
prove them wrong.
right. And once I did that, I got bored. There was no more
How long did you do
challenge.
it? How long did
Five,
you do?
5 years, and there was no
Okay.
challenge left
So
for
wait a
me.
sec. Can I? So when you entered at 15, you were already a young mom.
Well, I joined the military at 17
Okay, at 17.
because
Okay.
I wanted to be city police, but you had to be 19 to be city police. You had to be 19 to go to Holland College.
Okay.
So I joined the military at 17 and figured I'll take all the training I can take.
Right.
So that way, when I go in at 19, 20, I already have all this under my belt.
Okay.
So, so when it came time, when I turned 19 and it came time to apply, I was in the military away working on something. My uncle called me
Wow.
and said, Halifax City Police is looking for recruits. He said, you don't have to go through Holland College. They'll actually recruit you through the police department and train you and everything. He said, do you want me to apply for you? And I was like, yeah, whatever. You know what I mean? I kind of just was like that. And about 2 weeks later, I got a call and they said I had to come home because I had to do a psychological exam, some other,
Wow.
some other things that they required. And there was 147 applicants from across Canada. I was the
Wow.
first female chosen. There was two of us, myself and Robin Atwell. She happens to
I'm
be
still
family.
wrapping my mind around. Wait a sec. You were 17 and you joined the military at 17,
Yeah,
and then you were you. When did you become a mom?
19.
Okay, at 19. But
Just
then
for
you
my
started the police.
2 months before my 19th birthday.
So you
I
were
was,
training.
yeah,
You were doing all the military stuff,
yeah.
17 and 19.
And
Pregnant.
my son's dad is also military. He was my
Wow.
high school sweetheart. We joined the military. He joined a year before I did, so I don't want to say we joined together. I kind of followed him in a sense.
Yeah.
He always wanted to be a police officer. That's what we bonded over because our goals in life were similar. But he
Yeah.
wanted to be RCMP, and I wanted to
Okay.
Halifax City. So it was doing the same job but not competing with each other.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so that was very beneficial. But then I noticed that as I went through the ranks a little faster than he did, there was animosity there.
Gotcha.
That's
Gotcha.
that's where a lot of our
A
because
little bit of friction.
yeah
Yeah.
because when we got accepted for the police department and they were introducing us to the city as the new recruits, because I was black, native, and a single mom, myself and my son's picture was plastered everywhere, like all over the news, in the newspapers. Single black mother from Mulgrave Park becomes police cadet, and it was overwhelming. And I was also the only one of the cadets that could speak French. So when other French channels came
Wow.
to do interviews and things like that, I was the only one that could talk about it. So I got a lot of coverage. And
Wow. I can't imagine being like thrust into that
my
world
my mom played
that young.
a role as an anchor for me because it was
Nice.
a lot. And
Wow.
then I remember my picture was in the front page of the newspaper, and I was holding Jordan, and I had my uniform on, and my um well, I could still call her my sister-in-law because we're still really close. And she seen the picture, Missy, actually. It's Missy's
Missy
brother.
Searle?
Yes, ma'am.
Oh
Yeah,
wow. Okay.
my
Small
oldest son's
world.
dad is Missy's brother. Yeah.
Wow.
So
Okay, nice.
Missy's like, oh, look at my girl. She's on the front page of the newspaper. And he was like, yeah,
Wow.
she's on the front of the newspaper. Like, he totally just kind of like excluded me from that. Right. And I'm like, Jordan was
Yeah.
on the front page. If I wasn't on the front page to put him on,
Right.
but, you
With
know,
them.
it's
Yeah.
little things like that. And unfortunately, we do not have a good relationship. So,
Right.
like, well, I won't even say we don't have a good relationship. We don't have a relationship.
Okay. It's just
Right.
non-existent.
Yeah.
Sometimes it's better.
And
Sometimes
and
it's better
and
than a
a big part
bad
of
one.
that was a drive for me too.
Right.
Just because if you're not gonna step up to the plate and do what you have to do, I got to double down. So
Absolutely.
I don't think he realizes the pivotal role that he played in who I am today, and about
Right.
getting things done and making it happen.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So
I
I'm
can
grateful to him
relate.
for that. I know he
Yeah.
thinks I have a lot of animosity towards him, and I used to. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
I'm a
Yeah.
woman, and I was hurt and things like that. So of course,
Yeah.
but I've also healed, and my journey has allowed for that. So now it's more like, meh. You know,
Yeah.
no,
Yeah. It
it's more like,
drove you.
yeah,
It drives you when you end up having to depend on yourself and rely on yourself to make things work, and I've found that too in my own world. Like it sometimes it makes you a little bit closed off, but also you just go so much harder. Like you just and sometimes it's really heartbreaking events or like life changing
hmm
events that make you do that. Like it just for some people you can kind of get swallowed under, which it does happen for a little while. Like
yep.
there's a lot that goes on, and then um, for a lot of folks, that's just what drives them and
Well,
pushes them.
that's why they say from the fire rises a phoenix, right?
Yeah,
So when you're when you think that's it, you're defeated, and then you realize like you grab onto something, be like, girl, what are you doing? You know. So I
yeah,
I get those little things, and I pace myself. I don't even with all like negative and positive events that have happened in my life. I wouldn't change any of them because they all make me who I am today. You know, a lot of people would say, "Oh, I wish I hadn't gone through that." But if you hadn't gone through that, you wouldn't
right.
realize how strong you were, and then you wouldn't have done the next step.
Yeah,
So, I take it all
yeah.
with a grain of salt. I truly believe that the Creator has already written my book, and I'm just kind of reading it as I go along. And
That's so beautiful.
you know, it is,
That is so beautiful.
and
Yeah, and
I
it's nice that yeah. I don't mean to interrupt, but it's just nice when like women are sharing this or anybody sharing this, especially like women that I look up to and I admire as you in particular or Tia or whoever else, like when you guys share like these ups and downs, particularly the downs, like
right.
that's what inspires me a lot because I'm like, okay, like she's gone through it, like she's went through this and um, you know, there's still so much possibility that can come out of life. Like you can still overcome this stuff. Like don't feel like it's the end of the road or don't feel like it's over. But it is
Yeah.
inspiring.
Hold on, sorry. That
No
was my
worries.
son.
Oh, is
Hold
that
on.
what
I'm
happens
just
when I
letting
get
him.
a call? It goes black?
Yeah. My
Okay.
hold on.
No, that's fine.
Hold on. I'm sorry. My son has my truck. He hold on. If you
That's okay.
just
I was just curious to know what shows up when I get a call or a
okay, there we
text.
go. Yeah, sorry.
That's all right.
My son, my young, well, actually, can't even say my youngest son. All three of my sons work for the Mi'kmaq Friendship Center.
Oh, nice.
Yeah,
Okay.
and my youngest son is he works at the shelter and he works
Okay.
overnight. So he works with the people that stay there overnight. They have like a transitional shelter, so you have to
Right.
be doing stuff to get into your own place, and you go through the
Right.
programs. And so
Uh-huh.
he works 7 to 7.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, 7 at night till
Overnight.
7 in the morning. So
Yeah.
I allowed him to use my truck for because he just started. So I said, you know, for the first
Oh,
3 months, I'll let you take my truck to work because it's overnight, and in 3 months, that should be enough time for you to have money put away and be able to purchase your own vehicle. And it's 3 weeks, and he said, "Mom," he said, "I only need the vehicle for one more week." He's, and so he calls me every morning. Do you need anything? Do I gotta come over so you can go to the grocery store? You know, he's pretty cool like that. So
oh, that's
yeah,
sweet though.
yeah.
That's what it's for. But yeah, no. So after the police Like Halifax police.
I
You did
got
that for
married
5 years.
after the
Oh,
police. Yeah, after the
okay.
police, after I was on the police department, I got married and moved to the States. And
To where? You
my
moved
uncle
to
was
where? Sorry.
orange. Yeah, I moved to Mobile, Alabama.
Oh,
Yeah, exactly. That
what's
was
over there?
when I met a young man, and I don't want to. Let me see how I can put this. I don't want to say that I was absolutely in love because of the devastation with my son's dead. It was more like I was in love with being in love, and I wanted stability and that family. And my ex offered that. You know what I mean? That family, that stability, and we he was in the U.S. military, so I moved to the U.S. to be with him, and I left Halifax and went right to Alabama, and I was a little bit afraid, um, because I know my mouth, and I was like, oh my God, I'm going to Alabama, I'm gonna die, I'm gonna be lynched or something. But what I found was I lived in Mobile, Alabama, Pascagoula, listen, Pascagoula, Mississippi. If you blink, you miss it. Fort Worth, Texas, and Camden, Arkansas. And so I lived all down south. I was all over the place. We traveled a lot. And I have to honestly say, I received more racism here in Nova Scotia than any place I had ever been in the South. And
Wow, that is saying a lot.
it was quite a culture shock because we were always told, oh, in the South, they're racist. They don't like this, they don't like that. And I
Right.
can honestly say, from my experience, that's not necessarily true. I'm not saying there isn't racism because we understand that, that's everywhere, but
Yeah.
not the way they sold it to us. One of my best friends when I
Wow.
lived in Texas was a white girl, and
Uh-huh.
and her parents were so good to my kids. Like, I mean,
Wow.
I was in hair school and she was in hair school. That's how I met her. She went to an all black hair school, and she didn't
Nice.
have biracial children or anything like that. She was just a white girl who had white children and a white family, and just cool, just so cool. And
Oh, wow.
Nancy ended up leaving school.
Oh, yep. Nope. I know. I feel you're muted, but I feel like you got a call coming in, so don't worry about it. Take that call. Probably your son with the truck. Is that your son with the truck? That's okay.
No, no. Oh my
Okay.
gosh. People are only calling me because I'm on the phone. If I wasn't on the phone, my phone would be quiet. But
That's all right.
oh, sorry about that. Oh, I'm
That,
not
no,
answering
that's
anything else.
okay.
I'm just
No, this happens with like all our recordings. So don't feel bad about it. It's live. But I just want to ask real quick, like when you were in Alabama, you were doing the hair school. You said your children. So how old were you by the time you got there, and how
so
many kids did you have?
when I got married, I was 21, 22,
Okay.
around that age bracket. Jordan was 2.5,
Okay.
and around 2.5, 3. And I gotta honestly say, I can honestly say it now, but I think a big part of me got married so that I could leave here, because I was so devastated over Jordan's dad and the way we broke up. And I was young, you know what I mean? We had been together
Right.
6 years. This was the
Right.
love of my life, and I was devastated. So I think mostly I moved because it was the furthest away from Nova Scotia I could get.
Yeah.
And
That makes sense.
I needed to do that to heal for myself and for my son. And you know, um my ex-husband played a big part in that, and I'm extremely grateful to him for all of that. And like, he definitely looked out for me, protected me, all of those things that you would expect a husband to do in those
Yeah.
regards. And I wouldn't change any of it. We're not together. We actually have a more amicable separation than Jordan's dad, so we can still, he'll still inbox me happy birthday, or you know what I
Right.
mean, talk some foolishness or something, or tell me about his relationship and ask advice. So we still have that, and I'm
Yeah.
grateful for that. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That we have that. But um
Did y'all have kids
yep, I have two
together?
sons. Yep, Jordan's the oldest, which is his dad's Ricky, and then oh, that's okay. It's both of us. At least I don't feel alone. They don't want us together, Fantanish. They know it's gonna make some sparks.
Oh my God, that is people are conspiring. That is crazy.
Hmm.
Okay, so yeah, you guys had so then you had how many more
Yeah,
kids?
we have two sons, DJ
Yeah.
and Omayo,
Okay.
29 and 28. And
Okay.
both made me a nanny. I got three grandsons and two bonus
Okay.
grandbabies. So I have
Wow.
five
So you had
altogether.
all boys. You had
And
all boys and then all
I
grandboys?
have one bonus granddaughter. I have one
Okay.
bonus granddaughter who made it clear that she's going to be the only granddaughter that I probably get, so I better love her. She goes, "You just better love me, because But yeah, I have all sons and I have all grandsons, and
Wow.
you know, um, it definitely makes you feel protected and safe
Nice.
when it comes to being looked out for and stuff like that. My sons are
Right.
super dope. They're really really cool. They're my sons, but we're actually really good friends.
Nice.
Right? We share a
So
lot. So.
so then once you say you met this girl in hair school,
Mhm.
that looked out for you and things and
I
and
was
and
probably
I
about 23, 24, because we had lived in Alabama. And then from
uh-huh.
Alabama, we moved to Pascagoula, which is about 45 minutes away. It was based on where his ship was at, because he was in the
Okay.
Navy. So it was based on where
Yeah.
his ship was at. So when I got to Texas, he had taken shore duty. So they do 4 years at sea duty, where they go all the time, and then 4 years of shore duty, where they just like kind of go to work every day and come home every day.
Post.
And
Okay.
on his shore duty was in Fort Worth, Texas, and that's where I met Nancy. Was
Okay.
in Aladdin Beauty College, and I wanted specifically to go to Black Hair School, but not to learn to do other people's hair, just to learn to take care of my own.
Right.
And I ended up
Right.
being really good at it. And
Well, I was gonna say hair was a big part of your journey. Like
yeah,
hair was like something that you specialized in. Like there was a lot there was a lot of
hmm
demand for you as a stylist. And,
yeah.
like, can you talk a bit about your
Uh,
that hairstyling journey?
uh, I started out really just looking to learn how to take care of my hair better, and then it was fun and lucrative. And so I came a lot across a lot of really good hairdressers that and hairstylists that taught me a lot. I had really great mentors in that area. So by the time I came back to Canada, I was already a master stylist and I had an international license.
Right.
So what that means is that you got your license from three separate states in the US, and that meant
Right.
that you could do hair anywhere.
Right.
And so I came back, and at first I did nails, because that's the other thing. If you go to school in the States for cosmetology, you learn nails, hair, and skincare. It's not just hair or nails or skin. You go for two
Okay.
and a half years and you have to learn it all. And so
Okay.
when I came back, I started doing nails at first, and very good money. And then I was like, you know what? I miss doing hair. So I went back into the hair world, and I didn't expect to dominate on the level that I did, but I did. And
Right.
because I was one of the first to venture into lace front wigs, and my weaves looked really real. You could do anything with them. And the reason
Are you still doing hair?
I do
You take
periodically.
clients?
I do periodically. Um, I have a couple of clients that don't understand that I said I retired, so I periodically have no choice. But what I found was it was always a challenge. Like, the challenge was making it more real, more real, more real. Like, so that
Right.
you couldn't see this or do that. So I perfected that, and I didn't realize how, like, again, my level of perfection until Shantia came along, and she was like, at that point she had just started her first business. She was going to be a makeup artist, and she was determined that this is what she was going to do. And I gave her a spot in the salon. um, to start her clientele and start her journey. That's why we have the bond. I mean, that I
So
don't
you
even want
had
to
your own
say,
salon?
yeah,
You had your own salon? Okay.
yeah. House of Amato. It was on Oxford Street, close to the RCMP station. I think there's
Wow.
a barber shop or a tattoo parlor there now.
Okay.
And it was done like a Japanese geisha tea house with the rice walls and all of that.
Wow. How
I built
cute.
it all myself. The only thing that I didn't put in myself was the sinks because I'm not a plumber, so that wasn't happening. But outside of that, I did everything myself from the signage to the front windows, everything. And I've known Shantia since we were young children. We grew up in the same community. And
Okay.
my brother and Shantia's children's dad were like brothers. So
Yeah.
I've always grown up with her, but that was our first entrepreneurial journey together. And like I told her, because she said, you let me have the space and you didn't charge me, and you just, and I said, because like me, I could see the hunger in your eyes for what it was that you were trying to do. You were hungry. And so when you see that, when you recognize that as someone else who's hungry, you kind of, it's kind of like a pack mentality. Like anything, you go, okay, well, you know what, we could eat more if we eat together. You know what I
Right.
mean? Like if we do
Yeah.
this on our own, we're eating a little bit, but if we do this together,
Mm.
we have so much more. So that's where that journey started for us. And
Nice.
just watching her grow has been absolutely amazing. um
Right.
where she is now is not surprising to me at all.
Yeah. Yeah.
um I think it surprises her more than it surprises me. Same as Missy. I've known Missy since I met Missy on her wedding day. I was 17
Wow.
years old. And it was the first, our, myself and Richard's first official date where it involved the family, where I was like, I knew his whole family because I grew up with everybody, but
Yeah.
not as his girlfriend.
Right.
So it was our first official family girlfriend boyfriend date, and was
Oh,
Missy's wedding. And Missy and
I
I,
love Misty too.
yeah,
Yeah,
we hit it
Misty,
off
another
from the
gem.
moment that we met. And even when animosity was high and I wasn't speaking to her brother and different things like that, Missy has always been that safe space in that family. Like I could
Yeah.
always go to Missy when it had anything to do with anything, not even just my son, but personal.
Yeah.
And Missy has always been that person within that family. I'm very close to a lot of the different family members,
Yeah.
but she was always that
Yeah.
safety net,
Hmm.
and she
That
still
seems
is.
really awesome.
She
Yeah.
still is.
For so many people, like she's just like the mother to everybody. Like
And then
she's so
my
sweet.
son and her youngest son Daniel look identical. You would swear that they're brothers. Yeah,
That's so
you know.
cute. Did the hair, like being kind of creative with hair, did that get you into art, or like were you always an
No,
artist?
I
Okay.
always drew.
Okay.
I ever since I was young, my best marks were like book reports and things like that because my cover pages and different things. I've always drawn. I've always watched Bob Ross and his Happy Little Trees. I grew up with Mr. Dress Up, whereas Mr. Dress Up taught you on his show how to
I
draw animation.
remember. Yep,
Yeah,
I remember
those
those.
were my inspirations.
Uh-huh.
Um, and Mad Magazine, believe it or not. I
Okay.
absolutely adored Mad Magazine and the little characters in the sides of the actual articles, like all along the back of the book and along the little sections, there were always
Yeah.
these little other cartoons that were happening. And so I've always drawn. I never thought that I could make any money in art. I always thought you had to either cut your ears off or die, Vincent van
Right.
Gogh. And because though nobody seemed to make it big as an artist unless you died. Like your art didn't
Exactly.
seem worth anything unless you died.
Until
And
you
so
pass.
I didn't pursue it. My mother used to leave me brochures for art schools and little art tests all over the place, and I would kind of blow it off. And then I don't know
Excuse me.
what
Sorry.
happened. It was like um, they were doing some kind of fundraiser for children, and my mom asked me if I would paint something for auction. And I said, well, I would, but I don't paint. And she's like, oh, it can't be that hard. Go to the store and get some paint. You draw. And I was like, Mom, painting and drawing are like two totally different spectrums. Oh, no, I
Yeah.
believe in you. You can do it. And I was like, oh my God. And it was for the kids. And that's my soft spot, the
Right.
babies. And so I did it. And my first three paintings sold in 29 minutes. And I had something like 32 orders.
Wow.
And that's how it started. And I've been doing it ever since.
So
Um,
what? So was that the point when you're like, okay, this could be a thing. Like this could
yeah,
be
it
a
could
bit.
be
I
a
can make a
thing.
living.
Yeah,
Right.
and so I started practicing and playing. My art definitely has grown tremendously. I was always afraid to paint people because you, when you paint people, I'm a perfectionist. So to me, it would have to look like the person to be a good painting. And I look at a lot of people's portraits and I'm like, that doesn't look like them. So I didn't want to be that
Right.
artist where you could look and go, yeah, that doesn't look like them. And
Yeah.
so it took a long time before I built up the courage to paint a person. And once I did, and I did it in my style, which is I paint dark to light, meaning I use either a light background and paint the lowlights of a person, or I use a dark background and paint the highlights of a person.
Mm-hmm.
It allowed me to encompass the real features rather
Right.
than try to paint it all.
Right. No, yeah, I've done a little bit of drawing here and there, and I used to do portraits of people. That was like one of the things that I love. But for sure, if it doesn't, I'm the same as you. If it doesn't look like the
Cemetery
person,
is,
like
yeah,
yeah,
cemetery
like I'm
is
like I don't.
everything. Cemetery is
Yeah.
everything. And I wasn't um, confident in my skills yet to do that. Other people seen it. Like even now, people are like, so how does it feel to be an established artist? And I'm like, who's established? Right? And they're like, well, you're established, you know, you got this, 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 and this. And I think it really depends on what your definition of established or success is.
So what is that for you then? What is that for you?
When I don't have to worry about bills,
Yeah.
right? I think established would be when I can set things up on an automatic payment and I'm not worried about what's going to be there to make the payment happen. I
Yep.
think to me that would be established. One of the things, the last, I don't want to say the last things I want to do, but one of the last things on my immediate list is I want to build a home or purchase a home and remodel it to my specifications. And I really want a shipping container home. That's been a big dream of mine. I just like the modern, clean lines of it all, and the metal and the connection to the earth, and things like
Nice.
that. And I can also build a house that's three times. When I open the key, like when I put the key in the door, it'll be worth three times more upon walking in than when I built it. And so even though I'm doing things, I still need to see an investment. I still need
Yeah.
to see the money, uh, and like you said, the value in it.
Hmm.
Um, and I want to do a lot of my own work. I'm picky, and so I
So
have
now, but
fun.
now you do art full time. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
So when did you leave? When did
Working.
you start doing? Yeah. When did you just start doing art
I,
full time?
I would say I haven't worked an outside job since 2017, 18. I want to say maybe 18.
Okay.
So
Okay.
when COVID was just on the cusp, like when it was just kind of peeking its head around, um, that's when I last had to work. And most people suffered through COVID. Their jobs were public and they had to kind of find another way to make things work for them. it was a bonus for me because being an artist, you need to be isolated to do your
Mhm.
work. And that's what COVID did
Right.
for me, right?
Right. Yeah.
It forced me to get better. And then
Right.
in 2020, I lost my younger brother. And so I
Oh,
used
sorry.
um, artwork as therapy.
Okay.
And I didn't paint, like he passed in August 2020, and I couldn't touch a brush or pick up beads or sew anything, like any kind of creativity for months and months. I just had to accept my new world for what it was. And once I accepted that, then I could start the healing journey. So it took me, a few months to kind of really let it sink in. And my brother was Muslim, so going through the Muslim ceremony and everything was so fast, and it just took a lot to kind of um accept it. And then I started painting even more. And I remember there's one of my favorite movies is called The Five Heartbeats. And it's about a band. And in this band, one of the band members betrays one of the other band members with their fiance. And they were saying to him, your music has changed over the last little bit. What has changed in your life that has made your music more soulful and more relatable? And he said, I'll always remember this quote, that you don't become an artist until you suffer through pain.
Mm,
You don't find who you are really as an artist until you suffer, because most of the art has come from suffering, some kind of suffering. And I didn't believe that when I always heard it. But after my brother passed, I completely understood what he meant. Because again, when they say that from the flame rises the phoenix, my artwork went from a 2 to a 8 in that time
mm,
period. The
mm.
attention to detail, um, and it was the first time that I decided to paint pictures with faces, and that's how we got
My
Ava.
God, look at that little sneak peek.
Yeah, that's how we got her.
Oh my God. That
And
is so
I
stunning.
haven't signed her because I don't think, I think someone would have to offer me their first unborn child for that
on
piece.
on on
Um,
that topic, like I'm curious to to know now that it's your full time gig, like it's project based, like what are like how lucrative is it where you're
Very.
at as an artist?
Okay, well, it's lucrative enough that I'm my dream car was a BMW, and it's always been my dream car, and a BMW SUV specifically. And 2 years ago, on my 50th birthday, I did 50 days of me. So every day for 50 days, I did something catering to myself for self healing, self therapy, and just self love, right? And as Taurus, as you know, shopping is our retail therapy is our thing. And
Mhm.
I walked on the lot with a bank draft and purchased my truck. That was the very first gift I bought myself
At a
from
five figure car?
uh
It's a five figure car?
yeah.
High
uh,
five?
yeah. I got a steal on it because I did walk in and just buy it.
Nice.
Um I'm also really particular, like you said, about where my money goes. So I did a lot of shopping. And it's funny because my brother called me one day and he goes, "Guess what, sis?" And I said, "What?" He said, "They got your truck on this lot." And I said, "Really?" And he goes,
Wow.
"Yeah." And it's like the same color you want it, which is like a royal blue. And I was like, "Really?" And he goes, "Yeah." He said, "I
Wow.
just drove by and it's sitting there." He said, "Go check it out." So I went and I checked it out. And I took it for a test
That's
drive. I took it to my youngest son because his thing is cars, and he's like, "Oh,
yeah.
mom, yeah, go ahead, go ahead."
Oh
So
my
I've had it
gosh.
for about 2 years now, and one of the biggest things is I do have my vehicle. I love my truck, but I have no car note. And I think that's the biggest thing, is that, like, if I wanted to trade it in for 2024, there's no trade, like, they don't have to, oh, we got to pay off the finance company this much so we can give you this much, so this much. It's mine. So when I trade it in, it's traded in, right? So I get the full value of it. And so I kind of look at it, investments, in that way, right? What's going to be
But
the best benefit?
yeah, you're obviously doing really well because I've also seen your purses and I've also seen your shoes, and I look at, because you're so humble, like you're just in your house, and then just the things, like, the things that you're able to, I guess, acquire. Hey, puppy.
Oh, Mr. And I don't know where that part came from either, but but you know what
uh,
it is? As easy as it was to achieve it, you can lose it just as quickly. And so, and we've watched that over the years. Like, we've watched actors and singers and people, have all of this lifestyle, and then in the snap of a finger, it's
it's
gone.
not. Is
And
that
so,
something that you think about often?
yeah, I
Yeah,
think about that in the sense of, don't put yourself too high on a pedestal. That just makes the fall a little harder,
right.
you know? So,
Yeah,
stay grounded, stay humble. I tell myself that all the time because, you know, um, it, I didn't come from a lot of money, and I didn't come from, you know, my grandmother worked. I got everything I wanted, but my grandmother worked for it. You know what I mean? Like, and she showed me that my mother worked for it, and nothing was just handed to any of us. And so you got to remind yourself that you appreciate it more when you know what you did to get it, right? If it's just handed to you,
hand it to you.
you don't care. There's no value in how you obtained
Yeah,
it. It's how you obtained it that's valuable, not the actual item itself. Like, the item
that
itself might
resonates.
have a dollar amount, but
Yeah,
it's the journey that's the most
yeah.
valuable. And so I
Well,
just remind myself of that, because compared to other people, my journey has probably been a piece of cake. But then compared to
yeah,
other people, my journey might have
right.
been a complete nightmare.
Yeah, I'm thinking even about your salon and how you said you built it up with like your own hands. And earlier you showed me a video of your deck and how you're like built that up with your own hands. Like, so much things are so much more valuable to us when we like put the
The
work in
blood,
and the
sweat,
hard
and
work in.
tears.
And
Yeah.
yeah, 'cause when it's handed to you, and I've experienced that too. Like when things come too easily, you don't know
Appreciate
the
it the same.
process. You don't appreciate it, and you don't have the opportunity to build the processes and build the foundation and know how to handle it when it arrives. Like, you have
Right.
no idea. It was just
Right.
dropped in your lap, right? So I agree with that 100%. And you said a quote there, that I want to circle back to just briefly around, you don't become an artist until you go through pain, and you kind of chatted. You spoke a bit about um, like losing your brother. Like, how did that change you, and how did that like change your work, do you think?
It allowed me to be more vulnerable. I'm a Taurus. We have resting bitch face. So we're
Yeah,
not, we're very sensitive and very soft hearted, but we don't allow everybody to see that, because it makes you
regarded.
a target in our eyes, right? It gives somebody a point of weakness in which that they can hurt you, right?
Yeah,
And when my brother died, I didn't care. Like, I didn't care who saw me cry. I didn't care who saw that my world was upside down and my heart was broken. And that was very different for me, because it was always that, being a police officer, being in the military, keep that facade. People can't see your emotions. And when my brother died, I think it shocked my kids, because that's the first time that they've seen me, like, that hurt.
yeah,
You know what I mean? Hurt to a point that they couldn't fix it for me. And
yeah,
for that, I embraced it, rather than,
yeah,
get mad and be like, oh, I embraced it. I took it 100. and I allowed myself to live in it and sit in it and you know, take all of that and then use it to push myself forward and be all the things that I guess to see myself in his eyes.
Yeah.
Yeah. So like
That's
stop
so
looking at
beautiful.
me through my eyes, but the way my brother saw me.
Yeah. And he's your younger brother?
Yeah, 10
Yeah.
years. See? And what I
I
mean by
know.
that
I can
is, you
tell.
see, yeah, whereas, say, 8 years ago, you wouldn't have gotten that. I
Yeah.
would have kind of, you know what I mean? Now I
Yeah.
don't care because at the end of the day, pain and growth from pain is part of being a human. And
Absolutely.
we all go through it. The one thing that's guaranteed when we're born is that we're going to die.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Success isn't guaranteed. Education isn't guaranteed. Death is definitely guaranteed. And so I've learned to um, grow from it instead.
Yeah. Yeah. I thank you for sharing that honestly. You can just see how much like you love him and how much like he takes up your heart and even looking at the art, like the little sneak peek that you gave us, that woman that you're painting, like there's so
Hmm.
much depth and like dimension and layers to it, like in a it's just the way that it's um, just the way that it's painted, like it just like pulls something and like brings out like an emotion and I think the viewer, and I think that's what what your work does, like what a lot of what your work does, and it doesn't
Now,
matter
that's what it
now.
does now. You see what I'm
Yeah,
saying?
yeah,
Because I've allowed myself to be vulnerable. And I think I paint that vulnerability in my work. So when other people look at it, they allow themselves that level of vulnerability too. And that
yeah,
and that invokes healing,
mm,
right? It pushes you to heal. And if I can, for me, I never understood my reason for painting, but if my artwork can help heal some people, then that's really what it's about. If it can generate some hard conversations that we normally wouldn't be able to have those conversations, um, and be able to start the healing process based on those conversations, that's what I want my artwork to do. You know what I mean? Like, yeah, it's great. You're looking at pretty pictures, but what do you
yeah,
walk away with? Like, what do you take
yeah,
away? And I really want people to take away a little bit of healing each time that they look at something. You know what I mean? Like, just even if it's healing that other people don't know.
your art in a lot of ways is activism because when you're doing stuff like Ava in Wonderland or Lucy's story or any of the work that you do, like there's always like a story and like there's a depth to it. There's the indigenous history and the African Ocean history and even like your own story of stuff that you've gone through and like how it relates to other people, and and it and it kind of relates to your name, SamGwan. Like, can you share the story like of how what the name means and how you got it if you're comfortable?
Oh yeah, I'm an open book. But Sam Guan means water in the Mi'kmaq language, and my name was gifted to me by an elder named Emmett Peters, who became a mentor. Um, Probably from the moment that I met him. Anybody who knew Emmett knew the love that Emmett had for his indigenous community, and his self and Miss Frida, and Rose, uh, gave me the name Semguan. And when I never asked at first why. I just was so excited that these elders felt I deserved a name that I just went from there. And then one time I asked, why Semguan? Like why, And Emmett said to me, because you don't see it yet, but you're like water in the sense of if you want something, you're going to go over it, around it, under it, and eventually through it, if that's what it takes for you to get where you need to be. And water transcends just its normal body of what it is. So if it gets hot, it turns into steam. If it gets cold, it turns into ice. So it's edible. And he said, it's refreshing, but it can drown you in the same sense. And he said, and that's all
What
encompasses
you
who
are.
you are. Yeah. And so I
Wow.
understood then, because he's like, you have the biggest heart in the world. You'll do anything for anybody. I've embraced all of it. I've embraced all of it. And I'm very proud to carry it. I'm very proud to be a water protector and, to be learning not just my indigenous culture, but it explains so much of who I am. uh I being a black woman, or being like, pigeonholed into a black woman, there was always something missing. And that's because, I'm indigenous as well. And so for me to just be black, wasn't enough, because that's not only who I am.
Mhm. Mhm. Mm. Yeah, and you're very vocal about both sides, and the history that I've gotten from you and in places that we've been together, and just like listening to your stories, and it's been really powerful and impactful, and I think the name is so fitting, 'cause even just hearing your stories about, like, even stuff going through the military and then police and then going to the States, and then two like really significant relationships, and then the hairdresser and all this stuff, like how you've been able to kind of go through, but then like change yourself to fit the environment that you're in, or just like whether you need it to be ice, or whether you need it to be steam, or whether you need it to just be more fluid. Like, you've been able to basically survive through everything, through the elements, like through this fluidity that you have, which is so beautiful. Um, and I'm so grateful that you took time today to chat with me. Um, I'm not going to take up any much more of your time. There's so many more questions that I could ask, but maybe just
I was gonna
to
say,
kind
maybe wait till August, and we'll do this again, because there's a big project coming out.
of. Well, I can't wait. I can't
um
wait to
Fingers
hear it.
crossed that um we break ground in August, which is the plan, and then
Okay.
we'll have a specific place for you to do your podcast. Let's say that.
Oh,
Yeah.
amazing.
So that we
Okay.
can, yeah, because myself and Tara Taylor are working on a very large project, and
Nice.
it's been in the making for quite some time, but from the looks of it, we're at the end. We've been approved, everything's been covered. So all I want is, I know that it's a go, but I just want to put that first stake in the ground. And once we do that,
It's a done
I'll tell
deal.
the world. Yeah, I'll tell the
Yeah,
world. But
we're moving forward.
yeah, um, let right now we're looking at the first Black and Indigenous art gallery and the first Black art theater here in Nova Scotia.
Wow. That
So
just literally gave me chills. Like,
yeah, so
that just
my
gave me chills.
what I'd like to do for the opening of the gallery, because that's my domain, whereas Tara Taylor's domain is the theater.
Yeah.
Um, for the opening of the gallery, what I would love to do is go into the different Black and Indigenous communities, drop off disposable cameras, and have people take pictures of their community from their perspective, and
Right.
then go back and collect those cameras, print off the pictures, blow some of them up, fit some of them to fit,
The
what we're
canvas.
doing, and open the
Yeah.
gallery with love letters to Black,
Oh.
Indigenous Nova Scotia. And so we get
Whew.
Nova Scotians' view of Nova Scotians, not just
Right.
mine, because I'm an artist and that's all great and I paint pretty pictures, but it's not just about me, it's about my community. So I'm a firm believer that I can't feed anybody else unless I feed my family first. And Nova Scotia is my family.
That is so beautiful. I love hearing that that's what you're working on, and I cannot wait to see it like come to life, and like this whole session. Like, my heart is just like I don't know how to describe the feeling, but it's like I just resonate. You have so much depth in what you're saying and in your work, and like you just like drop little pebbles that I'm just like clinging on to because I'm just like everything just is so powerful and like valuable and impactful. So like
I
yeah,
just want to
I
make sure when my children and grandchildren look back and see what our family has started, the foundation of our family, because I can build the foundation, but I need them to build the doors and the windows and the roof and the walls. So if they
right,
see that they have a solid foundation built in love and respect, then
yeah,
everything else should come easy.
yeah,
Right?
yeah,
That's how I look at it. Like I'm a quotey person. I love quotes, but one of my favorite and I told my daughter-in-law I need it on a t-shirt. Is that some people complain that their roses have thorns, and I'm just glad my thorns have roses.
right.
So it's
The perspective.
your perception of the world, right? So roses could be beautiful, but they're thorny. So, I don't want that. Or you could look at all the thorns and heaviness in the world, and these ones have beautiful flowers that are rose. So I just look at it can always be worse.
Wow. Glad my thorns have roses. I've been taking notes.
Yeah. I'm just
I'm
yeah.
writing down.
Because people always complain, right? Like it's easy to complain that we don't have this and I'm this and this is this. But what about praising the good stuff that we work so hard for? Like what about acknowledging that, that heartache made you stronger versus that heartache broke you? Right? Because when you got through the broken, yeah, it broke you. And I understand that. But when you got through the broken, because we always get through it, when you got through the broken, who were you after that? How come that's
Yeah,
not celebrated? Right?
yeah.
Like, why is
Yeah.
that not celebrated? And we focus on the broken. So I just, it's, I look at myself at, and almost like a piece of art in a sense. The art of kintsugi in the Japanese culture is the art of something broken being put back together. Um, and it's even beautiful, more beautiful than it was before it was broken. So I look at my life like that. Yes, my life was broken into a million pieces, but when I put that cup back together, I used gold to seal it. And now it's even more
Right.
beautiful than it was. So I kind of
Wow.
look and take each thing like that. You
Yeah.
know what I mean?
I
And
can I
each
can I can
person.
picture that cup that with the cracks in it, but it's gold that's kind of sealing those cracks.
Exactly.
How beautiful.
And when we heal, that's what it is, right? Because you learn a lesson each time you heal, you walk away with something new, right? And whether it's a lesson meaning you wouldn't do it again, or a lesson that you would do it differently, or the lesson that you did exactly what you were supposed to do, it's always a lesson. And each lesson is another thread of gold, right? So when you get finished, and with all the cracks that we go through life, when we're done, we're just golden. So why not manifest that beforehand? Like instead of seeing the cracks, put the gold in before the crack happens.
Come through with the word.
You
Come
know what I
through with
mean?
it. Like
So like
honestly.
even you, when you told me what you wanted to do and your ambition was so big and everyone else was looking at like, Fantanis, are you sure? Because that's a lot of money. That's a lot of time. If you notice, I never questioned you and what you wanted to do because I knew that you would get it done. Because again,
Yeah.
it was about, I could feel that hunger. And when there's a rumble in your belly, you're going to forge and eat what it is that fills that void. And so
Yeah.
I knew when you said, this is what I wanted to do, this is what I want to do, and this is how I wanted to do it, in your
Yeah.
mind it was already done. It was for the rest of
Yeah.
the world to catch up.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right? You already had your brick and mortar. You already seen your furniture. And I could
Yeah.
tell when you spoke about it that you already had the visual. So it was for
I
the
did.
rest of the world to catch up to where you were.
Yeah. And even that was an experience and that was a lesson and
Hmm.
there was so much in that and I've shared this too because of kind of the changes with it and kind of the giving up that space but what is what is the lesson like you said like what is the lesson is it would I try it again but do it differently would I did I do exactly what I was supposed to do, or did I approach it completely wrong, or should I have approached it completely differently? But there's so many things that I've learned from that I'm still like, I would still do it again, and there's still so much that I would do differently, and I feel like I still did do it exactly the way that it should be done, because there were the lessons that happened, and that would not have been learned any other way. But
Exactly.
yeah,
Right. And hence
yeah,
now why you will be a serial entrepreneur.
forever.
It's like once you tasted it, it's like, ooh, child, I want that all the time. Because the
Yeah,
idea of being in control of your own life, even when it comes down to working a 9 to 5, is
yeah,
power.
yeah,
Right? There's a power in that. To be able to pick my brush up at any time of day and create my next week of pay, there's a power
right.
in that, right?
It's
And
true.
and with great power comes great responsibility. Everybody says it, but it's true. Like, to be able to be that free is powerful in itself. And I'm grateful every day that the creator handed me that opportunity. I get that I had to work to get there too. I'm a firm believer, God helps those who helps themselves. And don't ask for patience because he'll give you things. See, that's the other thing I've
That
learned.
was
Be careful what you ask for because you might get it. So, one of my lessons I have always said I needed to learn was patience. And I'm like, God, I know you want to teach. I know I got to learn patience. I know I got to learn patience. But then I realized you keep saying it and he keeps giving you situations in which you need to learn to be patient. Stop doing that to yourself. So then eventually I learned how to manifest, how to
yeah,
speak it into existence. And that in itself, just as Black women, the power that we carry to be able to do that. A lot of people think everybody can do that. And yes, you can when you learn. But for us, it's natural. And
yeah,
it's so natural we don't even realize we do it. And it's manifesting whether negative or positive. And just learning how to streamline that to our benefit.
yeah. We're creators by
Yes. We created we create some of the biggest gifts in the world, Black men,
right. Yeah, yeah.
right? We created that, right? And if we're looking at the world for what it is, let's be real. These people are still studying us, still studying our genetics, still
Yeah,
studying our hereditary pass downs and how that works and all this stuff. So if they know there's something special about us, how could we miss that there's something special?
it's true. We're so powerful, and our ability to create it can be, it's whatever direction we choose to funnel it. So we can funnel that energy to our detriment, or we can funnel that energy to like our blessing and to kind
Hmm.
of elevating us and creating what we want. So yeah, it is very, very powerful that we have that. Um, but yes, Samguan, thank you
Thank
so,
you.
so,
Kim,
so
Kim.
much. Thank you for your time. Um, if folks want to get a hold of you and reach out to you outside of this space, like what's the best way that folks can can get in touch with you?
The easiest way I would say is Facebook. My Facebook is public, so anybody can inbox me or send me messages.
Yeah.
Um,
Is it Samguan or is it Tonya
it's
Paris?
Tanya. It's Tonya Paris.
Okay.
SamGwan is there as a nickname, and also Instagram. SamGwan The Artist. We are in the process of building a website. The actual business that we run is called Muck the Way, which means Black Enigma, and
Okay.
so LinkedIn. If you look up Mucked Away, Instagram, Facebook for Mucked Away, as well as SamGwan The Artist or Tonya Paris.
We gotcha. We gotcha one way or another.
Yeah.
Um, thanks again
Oh,
so much.
thank you, honey.
I'll be catching up with you, and I just can't wait to see how this project opens up in August. I'm going to be looking out for it.
Oh, when the actual grand opening comes, you guys will be well informed because we are going all out. I want a full black tie Dressed to the Nines event, which should have been. Remember were we together for the Chamber of Commerce thing?
Yeah.
Okay, so how that should have been.
Yeah.
So we'll just say that, and it'll be the
Gotcha.
opening night will be. Everybody who's walked along this journey with Jesse and I, as well as all the money people and everybody who's
Yeah.
sponsored, donated, and we'll do the first night in a big gala. So you guys will
Nice.
all know.
Good. We'll be watching. We
Give
can't
us a
wait.
reason to get dressed up and get our cute on.
Literally. Literally. Awesome. All right. Well, for folks that have tuned in and have listened, please let us know what you thought about this episode. Leave us a comment. Follow us on our Instagram, the Blue Room Podcast. Check us out on YouTube, Spotify, Apple. And thank you for listening. We'll be chatting soon.